things. Oh, 9 years in the NFL. Oh, lose my starting spot, tear my pec. If I could just get to the point, the most contentment I had was when I had nothing.
By God's grace, I dropped my 7th album in 2022, and I decided to call it The End. It's a project I am very proud of. So I wanted to make this podcast to drive home, the heart behind everything that I wrote. This is the End.Notes podcast. Chapter 1, Over Under. Tell me about the time somebody lied to you and it bothered you. Oh, I'll tell you one.
All right, I'll go first. Start.
All people in this story have been absolved of guilt since this.
All right.
Forgiven as fuck. When I was a little kid, there's no way. Did y'all do Santa Claus when you was a kid?
Oh, no, never.
Yeah, I was about to say, there's no way.
No way.
I've never thought about that before. It's hard for me to think. Nigerian family, very Christian. We do Santa Claus. That just didn't seem like.
We knew that our parents gave us the gifts.
Yeah.
But you know how on the gift tags it has a to from, and some people would put to John, from Santa. With us, it was from Jesus.
Oh, that's even better, bro. That's
so
amazing.
Jesus came down the chimney and got his presents.
I know he's sending, but he came back just real. That's not what I thought it was like when he returns once a year for his birthday. And then, I was writing a letter to Santa, right, with all the stuff I wanted.
Yeah.
Who knows? It was probably a big wheel, all the stuff I didn't think my parents would give me. Not because they couldn't, because they refused. A big wheel, I want a basketball goal in the back, whatever stuff. Sega Genesis on them. And I wrote that list. My mom was like, all right, I'll mail it off to the North Pole. It sounds so funny. North Pole. P.O. Box. And then I found it in a stack of Christmas cards. It was a stack of Christmas cards from people. You know how people take pictures of their family and send it to you around Christmas time. Like, don't you want to see what my kids look like now? The answer is no. We don't want to see it. I'm just playing. I'm not. So it was a stack of Christmas cards, and I found my letter to Santa. And I was like, Mom, why is my letter to Santa? My first thought is, Mom, you wildin', you forgot to send it. How is Santa gonna know? Yeah. Even though he can surveil my activity and see if I'm being naughty and nice, he has to get a list to know what I want. And she said, sometimes he sends them back. At least we know my mom's not a good liar.
How old are you at this time?
I don't even remember, bro.
Okay. But you were old enough to be able to be like, come on.
Oh, yeah.
You can do better.
I was definitely old enough to be like, Mom. I was like, okay. And I was like, it's over. I felt very betrayed by that. But, at the time you felt betrayed by a lie.
Well, I mean, you get the whole, when somebody should come to your house and they say, I'm around the corner and they haven't even left yet, right? Yeah. And so that's fine. But not when your accountant does it. So there was this time, and he'll probably never watch this, and if he does, he's been great since, right? Yeah. You've been great since last year.
Yeah.
And we've been calling saying, hey, you have our stuff. We got to file the taxes. There's things that we're trying to do. And he's like, oh, yeah, I'm almost done. I'm almost done. And this just went on for some weeks. So we got to a point, it's past the deadline. Now it's late. And so it's like, hey, man, taxes, they're late right now.
Yeah.
Can you just wrap up whatever you have to do? And it's like, oh, yeah, we'll get right to it. And the next message that I get from him is, hey, do you mind resending all of your documents? And I'm like, you haven't even started.
And he didn't want to send the email. He was trying to find any way. He was like, I don't, because I'm caught. I can't.
It's like, you haven't even started.
Yeah.
And it was, I don't know what hurt more, right? I mean, his fee didn't hurt because he did it all for free. And we didn't get charged. So it worked out great. It didn't work. Or it worked out great in the end. But it's like, dang, I wish that you would have just I should have spotted that it was a lie by the way he was over promising on stuff on the front end.
Yeah.
That it's like that. I wish that you just would have come clean. We could have worked out a solution.
The thing about a lie that feels so betraying is you base your behavior on what you think is true.
Right.
Based on reality.
Yeah.
So if someone tells you something that's not what happened, you like, I was basing how I was moving based on what you said.
Yeah.
And that's what's so damaging about lies. Even when I think about like people storming the Capitol, it was like, no, they stormed the Capitol and broke in and was trying to hang Mike Pence. Some stuff you made up, bro.
Right.
Like that wasn't true.
Yeah.
But the power of a lie about what people believe.
Yeah.
We make decisions based on what we think is true.
That's good.
And it's part of the, obviously, lying is wrong because God says it's wrong, obviously. But lies can be so devastating in our lives because we live our lives based on what we think is reality. Yeah. And to me, that's part of why, it's part of why we just got to be really careful about what we're taking in and how we see reality. Like there has to be a discernment. There has to be a way that we filter what kind of messages we get because it's going to affect how we live our lives and how we move. And so on the songs, Call It Life and on Wake Up, those are some of the main themes is trying to navigate all the lies in part that the world tells us about what the world is like. Right. In order for the truth. Because here's part of the damage thing about the lies too is once you make your moves based on the lie and you do everything the lie told you was supposed to do, and then you get to the end and it didn't pay off. Wait, this is what was promised.
No.
When I do ABC, when I get there, this is what the result is going to be. So then when it's different than what was said, it stings. You've wasted your time. Another lie I felt betrayed by it. I'll tell quickly. I was in college. I was in the mall. I walked past the T-Mobile stand, and they said, I was trying to get a new phone. I was trying to get a BlackBerry. I was opening a new line, right? I was like, my mom don't have to pay for my cell phone bill. I got an album out, you know what I'm saying? And so, I was just getting a new thing. And it was like, but if we'll give you these 2 other phones, these other lines for free. I was like, no, I'm good. I don't need that. I just want this BlackBerry. That's like, no, here, you just had these phones for free with the other line. I was like, I don't need that. Right. I wouldn't use them. I don't have 2 phones. Like, I don't have any business moves where I need that.
And I've only got enough space on my belt at the time. What it was, 2000s.
Yeah.
So it's like, I've only got one other space.
We're not going to talk about clipping phones on the waist. Jessica made reference to me doing that to somebody younger recently. And I was like, no, it's not as bad as it sounds. It was, people did that. Because with 2 ways, especially people had 2 ways. But anyway, now, but long so it was like, I'm just gonna put them in like for real. I was like, whatever. I was like, I got these 2. And when you used to be, sometimes you got a new phone, you got to sign a new contract, and so it's just, bruh, I get my phone bill. I'm being charged for 3 separate complete phone plans.
That's wild.
Bro, I've never been so furious in my life.
That's wild.
But that's the thing, was like, no, you ensured me that this is what was happening.
Right.
And to this day, when I see a T-Mobile, I think bad things. No, but you ensure me this is what was going to happen.
Right.
And that's part of the, just the sneaky false advertising, because often the lies that the world tells us are the exact one that our hearts want to hear. Like, I love the possibility of just getting some free stuff.
Right.
Even though I knew it probably wasn't. So I tried to turn it down a couple times.
Yeah.
And so when the world says, oh, no, just do ABC, and you'll be way happy.
Right.
Just chase after money, and then you just have everything you want.
Yeah.
And that's happy.
Yeah.
That once you follow that plan and you get there and it doesn't give you the happiness that was promised.
That's good.
You know what I'm saying? Or it's like, oh, no, chase these girls. And when the pleasure is fleeting.
Yeah. No, I think that's one way to like spot lies, right? Like,
it's good.
I was a business major in college, right?
Yeah.
I don't remember anything that I learned.
Maybe you do. You're a businessman. Maybe some stuff stuck.
No, this stuck. Their big thing was like, don't overpromise and underdeliver. That's cardinal sin. Yeah. But I think, with like lies, that's what they do, right? Like, and that's a way to spot it. Just the over promises.
Yeah.
We live in a like complex world where things aren't just black and white. They're in shades of gray, and often lies come in as these absolute, no. All you have to do is this, and you're going to get everything that you want.
Yeah.
And I think we've seen enough people fall for the lie that, that we get to a point where it's like, I don't know if that's the case. If it was really as simple as it's laid out, then there would be a lot more happier people running around. But
yes, that's right.
I'm on Twitter and I see the misery of a lot of people.
Yeah, bro.
Things can't be that plain.
But we want it to be.
Yep.
Chapter 2. Nice to see you.
So I wanted to maybe just start by asking you, like, how many years did you play in the NFL?
Yep. So I played 9 years in the NFL.
Yeah. So 9 years in the NFL, and you correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't the average NFL career is like 3 years or less?
Yeah, it's like 3.1.
Yeah. So 9 years, like that's a good length of a career, bro. And I guess one of my questions, because I'm assuming you played football from a really young age, like you played your whole life, and this was like your dream to make to the NFL?
Yes and no. So I started when I was 30. I didn't start playing until I was about 13 years old. And it actually wasn't my dream. I know a lot of people, it's like, oh, it's my dream. I can't wait. I was very much like, I wanted to go to school. Wanted to go to really a good school for free if possible,
Very practical.
Like, say it again. Very practical. Very much like, I mean, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I had no idea. I was like, I was in a school. I was having fun. I loved learning. And I was like, maybe there's another school I can go to. And then like there's actually a whole story to how I even got a chance to go play in college. And even when I was in college, I didn't even know if I was going to go to the NFL until like halfway through. Yeah. So it actually wasn't a childhood dream, which actually I'm super fortunate. A lot of people, it's like, I'll give an arm and a leg. And I was like, if it happens, great. If it doesn't, cool.
Yeah. That's an interesting perspective though, because I think for something as difficult, like, as getting into the NFL, which is like,
you got to want it more than everybody else and you got to work. And he's like, well, I kind of wanted it.
Well, see, that was the thing. And I mean, this would be a good tipping off point. Like, I didn't think I was cut out for it. I didn't. I thought like what I believed was, you got to be, from the hood. This has to be your only way out. You have to be, this tough, aggressive, want to push everything down, violent, and those words didn't describe me. People describe me as kind and loving and caring, you know what I mean? Like, not violent. I'd be the dude who, would knock somebody down. I would be like, oh, I'm so sorry. Like, can I help you up? Like, that was me. That was my character, my personality. And so it wasn't, people didn't see me and said, oh, NFL player. At least not until I ran into like a mentor, a friend of my dad's who was a team for the Washington Commanders, used to be a different name. And he's like, I spend time with all these players. I see them every single week in my office after games. He said, Sam, the only difference between, and I was in college at this time at the University of Texas. He said, Sam, the only difference between them or between you and them is that each and every one of them believed beyond a shadow of a doubt that they were going to make it to the NFL. And so you don't need to be bigger, faster, stronger, tougher. You don't need to be from any kind of neighborhood. You just need to believe. Period. And once you do that, everything will change. And so that really broke down a mental barrier for me, because I was like, man, I'm not like, I have two parents in my household. Like, we are well-to-do, right? Obviously my parents came from Nigeria, so it wasn't always that way. And even growing up, it wasn't always that way. But like, by the grace of God, like, it became that way. And I had other interests outside of football. So it was just this idea of, you don't have to be a certain, way or stereotype or whatever.
So you saying like people in people's minds is like, unless the NFL is your only way you could possibly eat, unless it's that kind of desperation, you couldn't have what it takes to make it. Is that what you're saying? Yeah,
that's a lie. That's a lie. Number one, it's a lie, and it's just antiquated thinking. There's a scout for the Chicago Bears he actually just got fired because after interviewing some players during the combine, he said, man, I love this guy because this guy's he's a PhD. And PhD, what does that mean? Oh, this guy, he's poor, he's hungry, and he's desperate.
Wow.
So he's definitely we like guys like that. And even thought processes like that are very, not, we talked about it, they're antiquated, they're sophomoric, and they're also just annoying. You know what I mean? Because you talk about a PhD. I went back and got my MBA while I was playing in the NFL, and I still played 9 years. You know what I mean? There are dudes who are getting their PhD, dudes who are stopping to go play, to go work on the front lines, do for the Kansas City Chiefs. So like, I know we're talking about, breaking down barriers and truth or whatever. The lie is you have to be a certain way or have a certain mindset or a certain whatever. No, like for me, by the grace of God, I had the physical skill set, but also the difference was that desire, right? I'm not sitting here and saying, I just kind of woke up and magically made it. No, like once I believed, my action started to change. My decisions started to change. The way I trained, the way I ate, the way I like what I did and didn't do, like going out or not going out, everything changed with that decision. So I worked harder, and it was very difficult. It wasn't easy by any means. But it wasn't this thing where it's like, I always wanted to do it. And it was either this or nothing. No, I had and I still have other desires and goals. I wrote a book, right? I got my MBA. I love speaking, all this. So like, that is just, people are different, and you have to be able to appreciate that about them.
That's good. Cause like, for instance, like for me, when I think of like Michael Jordan, right? And he's a kind of dude, right? Kobe is also that kind of dude, which is you might not like him, but y'all gonna win. He might punch you in the nose during practice. Y'all gonna win. And people's minds are like, oh, that's the mindset that makes a champion. Oh, and the reason this dude ain't is because he doesn't have the I don't care about anything but that. And it's interesting to me as a dude like you who football is not your only interest, but also the kind of man you want to be. There are other things that can motivate you to the kind of discipline and determination and excellence besides this being the only thing that matters in your life.
Yeah. And even look at Steph Curry. Like, so Steve Kerr.
I was trying not to say Steph Curry. No, that's my dude. No, I was just trying not to.
It's because y'all light skinned. Is that why y'all like sit together? I was just saying, like, you know what I mean? But like, no, but like,
it's real though. Like, he's the opposite of that. He's like, he's super nice dude. That's part of why I catch people off guard. But it's like, no, but the excellence, the determination to stay in the gym after everybody else. You know what I'm saying? It's a different kind of killer instinct that is part of playing the game with excellence, but it's not my entire character is a killer instinct.
And there's a way, I believe, to be excellent by being you.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to be, that's like my whole book. So my book is called Let the World See You, How to Be Real in a World Full of Fakes. Yeah. And the whole point of that book is like helping people realize, like, when you're you, God will get the glory. When you're you, the people around you will benefit. When you're you, the world around you will thrive. If Steph tried to be MJ, he probably wouldn't be as good of a player as he is right now. But Steph still got 4 rings, right? Like, you know what I mean? Steve Kerr was he played with MJ, 1 rings. He coached Steph, and he said they both have that same kind of drive, but one comes out of, I think he said, anger and fear with MJ. Another one comes out of joy with Steph. And so, like, there's a way to be excellent and still have a healthy marriage. You know what I mean? And like still have a relationship with your kids. It's like it's doable, but nobody wants to talk about it.
Yeah, that's good, bro. That's good. Yeah, that's really good. So one of my questions then will be like, throughout your career, I think even along these same lines, like people have in mind. So even like being a rapper, like I remember like doing random interviews with random mainstream outlets, and they can't imagine a rapper who's not doing the things you associate with being a rapper. It's like, oh, you got like, groupies coming to the studio on tour. You got strippers in the studio. I know you still smoke though. And it's like, what? No, I love hip hop. Like I love the culture and the music, and I'm good at that. But in terms of who I am as a man, it's like I'm a follower of Jesus, and that really shapes me more than that. But people are like, no, if you're this, you also have to be this. So I guess, what was that like for you just coming up? Even in college, just the things that are expected of you, what it looks like to be in locker rooms, the expectations, the stuff that's thrown at you. How did you navigate all that?
Yeah, it was way different. I mean, similarly, right? It's like I grew up in Dallas. I went to the University of Texas, which at that time, like we just won a national championship. Like that's like the school.
Yeah.
I went to one when I was playing, and it was very odd to people that it was like, wait, you want to wait until marriage before you have sex? Wait, what? You want to actually like honor people? Like it didn't make sense to people.
Right.
And it really didn't make sense to me. I thought, hey, this is how I was raised. You know what I mean? So this is what I thought everybody did. You know what I mean? It's like, oh no, you're okay. Let me not do that. You know what I mean? And so, early on, people shunned me, laughed at whatever you want to say. People were like, man, who is this dude? Whatever. But after a while, once they noticed my character and I'll call it consistency, they started saying, man, Sam, I wanted, like, how do you do that?
Yeah.
Like, how do you, how do you like, you would go out, but you wouldn't, get wasted. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You wouldn't even drink. They're like, why? Or what's going on? How do I, man, I'm trying to, and so like, it was just different. And then now going to the NFL, the similar thing happened where I had that reputation. Oh, you're whether a nice guy or Christian, whatever. But it was like, but are you going to really compete? So I had to like earn people's respect,
right?
But even then, you're competing. All of a sudden, you get angry. Someone's like, "Oh, are you supposed to get mad? Christians ain't supposed to get mad. Oh, did you? Is that a cuss word? Right. It was just this thing. And I'm like, I'm a competitor. Like I want to beat you.
Right.
Period. I don't know how to. I just want to win. And if I lose, great. Let's just compete. You know what I mean? Like.
Yeah.
And people didn't really understand that. I was going to like, if it was me or you, it was going to be me. And I will still love you and I'll still like serve you and help you on your way. And I think that was different for people.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good, bro. Yeah, that's good. What do you think? So if what motivates you isn't that same, like kind of killer instinct they're saying, if what motivates you isn't even that other stuff that people assume was supposed to be part of your life, which I think people associate with the whole NFL thing, like, how do you still have the same amount of drive to work hard? Yeah. I even remember talking one time several years back, and we were talking about, I don't know, the mindset of some guys who don't know what to do after the league because it is the only thing. But and some people think, again, it has to be your only thing or you won't make it if you have other stuff to fall back on. And I remember you saying, no, I actually do have in mind what would be next. And if something happens and it has to end earlier than I want it to, that's okay.
Right.
This isn't my whole thing. So I guess for people that are like, no, so how do I make it if it's not that desperation? Where does that come from? How can I have that drive and excellence without that?
Well, I just wanted to be excellent. Like I heard a friend of mine, I asked them, and she, well-known actress, does stuff on TV, and ran into her at a thing. And I asked her, it was the first time I met her, and I said, hey, how do you define excellence?
Yeah.
Because from what I saw from her on TV, she's excellent. How do you define excellence? She said, excellence looks like effort. Looks like effort, looks like passion. And she said, it looks like the Holy Spirit. Like there's like this essence of like the Holy Spirit when it comes to excellence. So for me, I just wanted to be excellent. Like I wanted to be the best at what I did. It wasn't, honestly, I think part of it too is like seeing my parents. Like I feel like they did a good job of just modeling to us, man, dad worked a lot, but man, he was always at all the games, right? Mom would take us to practice, do her thing, work, but it just seemed like they were revered and they didn't cut corners. And so I just wanted to be excellent. And I had this, I thought it was how everybody was. I went to this football camp at USC, right? Mind you, didn't want to go play. I didn't even know who the coach was back then. Like when they had won like 2 or 3 championships in a row, couldn't tell you who Reggie Bush was, man. I was playing video games. I was not watching college football games on Saturdays. And so, but I ended up at this camp because my younger brother wanted to go. Family trip. Long and short of it was like, we got to this camp. We didn't realize it was an invite-only camp and we weren't invited. Mind you, we flew from Texas to California, go to this football camp. Not only is it invite-only camp, it was a top 300 camp, i.e. the top 300 players from the entire state of California were at this camp, invite-only. And all of a sudden we show up, our names are not on the list at the little door, and finally somehow they let us in. And in that camp, all these people, I didn't know any of them, but I always wanted to be the first in line. I always wanted to be the one to go, like, to lead and to just, I feel like it was who I was. And so that's always been like what I want to do. I want to serve people, I want to lead, I want to love people well. And I felt like, and I feel like, man, if I can be great or excellent or give effort, you know what I mean? Like, and show passion, maybe not only will it inspire other people, but I'll have a platform opportunity. The most fun I had, honestly, if I could be real with y'all, the most fun I had on Sundays was before or after the game, interacting with the fans in the stands, little kids giving them gloves.
Yeah.
Or after the game, signing. I mean, that was like the most fun. The game was cool, right? You ups, downs, plays, sacks, tackles, interceptions. You win, you lose.
Yeah.
But the part I missed the most is the opportunity to be able to interact with people who their lifetime dream was to go to a game or to meet a player. It was just so much fun. It had nothing to do with wins or losses. It was like, man, like, because I worked so hard, I got a chance to do this. It was like icing on the cake.
Yeah. That's good. That reminds me of, I keep bringing up Ecclesiastes, but it reminds me of the preacher, whoever it is. You don't think it's Solomon. You don't think Solomon? Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Oh, when I read your book, I was like, I feel like he thinks it's not Solomon who wrote Ecclesiastes.
No, I just had to say that for people that didn't think that it was.
It wouldn't distract
whoever it is. They want you to think Solomon.
So, but when he's like, the rich man who has so much, he said, it'd be better to be a stillborn baby. Basically, he's like, because he has so much, at least there's rest for the stillborn baby.
Right.
This man, no matter what he has, he wants more.
Right.
And he doesn't even enjoy what he does have.
Yeah.
Right. And so the way you're talking about playing is like, oh no, my desire to be excellent and be good and to isn't so I can use that as a way to just get endless riches and chase after stuff. It sounds like you're saying, I enjoy doing it. I enjoy getting to be around people. I enjoy the experience itself without looking to it to lead to something that validates why I matter or why I have worth or why, anyone should care about me. I'm enjoying the opportunity to do this thing, and the joy in that is good. Does that sound accurate?
It's accurate, but I didn't realize until after the fact. Thinking back on it, like, that was in the middle. I was like, man, I got to get this next contract. Got to get paid. I got to go get, I got to prove, like, there was insecurities galore. I got to go show these guys. I got to earn their respect, and then you earn their respect. And then all of a sudden it's like, whoa, that game was in the past. Move on. 24-hour rule. You play, you spend on 24 hours, you move on. You're only as good as you're only as good as what you put on tape.
Yeah.
Right. Or what you put on tape the last game or the last practice. After that, you erase. So I'm like, man, that's like a never ending, like, will I ever be good enough?
Awesome. Yeah, it is. So I guess then my last question then would be like, at the times when, and I don't know how much of your career you felt like you were still in that kind of chasing after that.
Forever.
What helped you to
the entirety of my career felt like that.
That's helpful to know, though, because your perspective now doesn't sound like that at all. And, sometimes we can be like, but I'm always caught in this. I don't really see how my perspective could shift. So I was going to say, like, what helped you shift that perspective? What helped you kind of turn those lies off and see the truth about enjoying that?
Getting the contract.
Yeah.
Like, getting the contract. Like, I signed like the big deal. Most of my career is, veteran minimum, 1-year contracts. Maybe you make it, maybe you won't. And I finally signed a big deal, multi-year contract, right? Yeah. Multi-million-dollar contract. Like, I got it.
Yeah.
And I was empty. I was like, I felt like I was probably worse off than before. Money's a magnifier. All the money does is just magnifies who you are, what you were before you had it.
Yeah.
It's just like, boom, puts a spotlight on it. And I got that. I signed my big deal and was a starter finally and solidified the spot. And it seemed like after that, everything went downhill. Even like relationships with people around me, with family. I wasn't loving my wife well. I wasn't even loving my kids well. I wasn't even like with friendships and relationships. I'm over here like, man, I don't have any friends.
Yeah.
Like, that happened. More pressure, expectation. Now you really got to perform. You got to prove that you're worth all that money they paid you. So then I go on the field and, so much happened that season, right? Lucas, who
yeah,
I was not doing good at all, emotionally, like mentally, family, anything. And so by the grace of God, he put a friend in my life named Lucas, who I got a chance to have dinner with like a week before training camp. And mind you, like football season, August, September, October, November, December, even January, you're nonstop. But then February, March, April, you're pretty much by yourself. May, June, whatever.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, this is like July. I'm like, man, once I get back to the season, then everything will be okay. I'll be back with my teammates, back with my friends. My marriage will be fine then, and my kids, everything will be good.
Yeah.
And I'd even share with him some of my deep personal struggles. And he was like, and I said, yeah, but it'll be fine in a week once I get back to that football field. He said, Sam, if that's how you feel right now, I'm concerned about what happens when you retire.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
When this thing that you love is taken away from you.
Wow.
And as I'm sharing with him, and you two are close. You two are like, if not best friends, best of friends, right?
Yeah.
So you share things with each other. You're there for each other. You're all together right now in Dallas, right? And so this friend was there for me, and he saw me, and I'm sharing with him. And as I'm sharing, I'm starting to cry, like tears, real tears. 6'2", 260, linebacker, NFL, tears. And he looks at me in my tears, and he says, hey, Sam, it's really nice to see you.
Mm-hmm.
It's nice to see you.
Awesome.
And I'm sitting like, I'm like, what? I'm like, what? He said, it's nice to see you, the real you. He said, I've known you for 8 years. I've never seen this side of you. It's nice to see that you're human. I'm thinking like, did you just hear everything I just said? I felt my life is in shambles. He said, hey, you never know. Maybe God is writing a book in your life, and you may only be on chapter 2.
Mm. Yeah.
And so to answer the question of like, how did you realize that or gain this perspective? Yes, it was from like getting the contract, but it also came from slowing down. After that conversation, Lucas recommended I go talk to a counselor. So I did. The very next week, the day we're reporting to training camp, that morning, I'm sitting in a counselor's office. The night we had training camp.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting in this counselor's office, and we're talking a little bit, and he looks at me and he says, Sam, I have a quick question for you. He said, what do you do when you get angry? And I look at him and I'm like, well, that's easy. I just try not to get angry, right? $1 million smile, team leader, yada, yada, try not to get angry. He said, I'll ask you again, what do you do when you get angry?
Right.
And I said, I just try not to get angry. So I was putting on this mask, this front, this facade. He said, Sam, everyone gets angry.
Yeah.
So what do you do when you get angry? And knowing there was really nowhere to go at that moment, right? His eyes were seeing right through me. I just began to cry again. A week later in this random counselor's office. And like, it was like, I couldn't breathe. You know, those cries where you can't breathe, you know what I mean? Like he said, Sam, I need you to breathe. I'm like trying to, whatever. He said, Sam, I need you to breathe, right? The body keeps the score.
Yeah.
I need you to breathe. He said, Sam, I'm going to put my hand on your chest. I need you to breathe. Sam, I'm going to put my hand on your stomach. I need you to breathe. He said, it's nice to see you, Sam. And oh, by the way, get used to hearing that. The way that I gained this perspective was from slowing down. Slowing down. So go to that counselor, right? There's so much more. And I'll share this in my book, but there's so much more. But fast forward, I'm the starter. Well, a couple weeks into training camp, we trade for a dude named Khalil Mack, right? Like future Hall of Famer type Khalil Mack. I lose my starting spot. Right around that same time, we were having our third baby, and my wife had complications in the hospital and almost lost her, right? Right. Mind you, got the deal, everything's great. That happens. A few weeks after that, I tear my pec in the fourth game of the season against Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I'm out for the season. A few weeks after that, a friend of mine who was battling cancer for years, about 70 years old, mentor, next door neighbor when I used to live in Arizona with the Cardinals, battling cancer. He posts a message on Facebook asking for permission to go. He's a follower of Jesus. He's like, I'm ready to go see Jesus. So I call him up and we have a conversation. And what gave me perspective was getting it and losing it and having God in the midst of all of it.
Right.
Yeah.
That's good, bro. Yeah. That's good. No, it's really, really good. Yeah.
Do you feel like there was as you lost it, do you feel like there was a sense of like contentment and peace? Like, yeah.
So the call with my friend, asked for permission to go. I say, hey, before you go, right? He's 70-something years old. He's like, I fought this fight. I've been fighting this for years. Like, it's time. I said, hey man, just give me some advice. You know what I mean? Cause like I used to go to your house all the time and sit and ask, give me some advice. He said, Sam, I've got 2 things for you. He said, Sam, the first thing I want you to know, the most important thing you can do on this earth, this is number 1. Out of my 70 years, 50 years of marriage, kids, grandkids, whatever, he said, get to know Jesus intimately. There's no greater joy you'll get on this earth than getting to know Jesus. And mind you, it's a 2-way street. He wants to get to know you, right? Get to know Jesus. And he paused. And I'm sitting like, all right, like leaning in, what is next? He waits, and he waits. He says, Sam, the second thing I want you to know is that you are worth getting to know. Never forget that. You are worth getting to know. Now, mind you, those would be the last words I heard from my friend. He would go on to pass away, but those words really stuck with me. Why? Because I used to always think that people wanted to know me for my things. Oh, 9 years in the NFL. Oh, contractor, this person, that person. He said, no, you are worth getting to know. So mind you, lost the stuff, right? Lose my starting spot, tear my pec. Mind you, I signed a 2-year contract. 1 year into the 2-year contract, I get released from the team. First time ever in my career, get cut. Yeah. Our house floods. We were in Atlanta actually for the Super Bowl doing some stuff. Our house back in Chicago flooded. What else happened? Like, if I could just get to the point, the most contentment I had was when I had nothing. Like I had a few months later, fast forward a couple months, I ended up signing with the Buffalo Bills. I think I'm going to make the team. I don't, right? For the second time, you could say usually I'm always the guy I don't make it. So I was at a hotel in West Seneca, New York, the Staybridge Suites. I was like the team hotel for all the rookies or guys, whatever. And I didn't know what to do. I actually called up Lucas. I was like, dude, I don't want to play anymore, like before the cuts. And he said, give it a couple weeks to see what happens, right? They cut me on my birthday. I was relieved. I was actually relieved because God was doing something new in my heart. And I spent I thought it was going to be 2 weeks till somebody called me. It was 2 months. At a hotel, me, my wife, and my kids in West Seneca, New York. And no one knew me. No one cared who I was. I wasn't on the team, nothing. Didn't have a job, nothing. But God was with me and I felt his presence like every day. It literally it felt like I was like in the clouds with the Lord. It felt like I was above the stuff.
Wow.
And I was like, the room was like the size of where y'all at right now. Like our room was like that big. You know what I mean? Like we didn't have anything. But we had, like, I had gotten to know Jesus really, really well.
Right.
And yes, there were tears. Every Sunday I was at church. Usually on Sunday I'm in games, playing. I'm at church, worshiping, crying, getting angry, upset, confused. Right. And God just sat with me. He just sat with me. And so to answer your question, people talk about, godliness with contentment is great gain. I had some great gain. Like that time, those 2 months is my favorite memory out of my 9-year NFL career. I ended up getting signed by a team after that and playing. But out of my entire 9 years, those 2 months at that hotel with nothing in Buffalo, wife, kids, and the Lord. Like I wouldn't trade that for the world. Wow. And that's when I finished. I wrote the rest of all my book, like Let the World See You. It was written there. Wow. In that.
That's amazing. Thank you so much, man. It was perfect.
That's fantastic, bro.
Chapter 3, Wisdom Road. Call it life. It's like going against some of the stuff that seems, like stuff that can't really deliver. Ventilators might get me by. Defibrillators block quick demise. Just like elevators can't get me sky, no thing's gonna give me life. Like nothing else can promise me life other than what's offered by God himself.
That's what you say at that part.
Yeah.
That's dope.
Yeah, I'm glad you
I couldn't really understand, so I just
Yeah.
Mumble
But
that
don't
part.
look at genius.com because it's often wrong. And sometimes I'll like tell the label, like, hey, send my correct, like, let's put them all in. And then you look and someone corrected them to something false later. But it is what it is. Keep your luck, don't give me dice. Right? Like all these other things I'm not going to depend on. It's too hard to roll the same digits twice. They inundate us with silly lies, then chase us until we die. It's like, the thing, like even once you turn away from lies, they still chasing you down, bro. It's not like, oh no, I turned and I'm gonna follow after God. I think that's what throws believers off sometimes. Like, oh, I didn't think it was gonna be this hard. I remember sitting in a meeting. We was both there. We was sitting around with a bunch of people in Atlanta, a bunch of like pastor types.
Right.
And one of the dudes who was, I think he's probably late 40s, maybe 50. And he asked for prayer that he would remain pure and faithful to his wife. He had been, but he was like, man, there are like some, like there's some times when I'm like, oh no, I need to stay diligent. Otherwise, if I don't keep watch on my soul, I may begin to drift and excuse some things. And there was another dude around the same age who was like, yeah, pray for me that I would stay growing and how I understand scripture and not get too like settled in. And they were talking about this stuff. I'm like, oh, I thought these were like young man prayers.
Right.
Like it's like, I know that's not true,
Right.
but something about hearing you pray for a thing that I want prayer for. It's like, oh, it doesn't like reach an easy coast point. Like the lies chase you the whole time. And you need grace the whole time. And I think it throws us off sometimes. It's like, oh no, I thought I was gonna get to a point where it was gonna start to get easy.
Right.
And maturity doesn't mean it's not hard anymore. That's the thing. Like growing doesn't mean it's coasting from now on. Maybe you have a better feel for how to, maybe some things don't sting as hard, but as soon as you let your guard down, them lies are still after us.
Bro.
And that's how we get too comfortable, man. And we're like, I mean, maybe I used to be I was too strict, but I'm mature. It's like, sometimes it's like, no. The reason you've been mature is because of the guards you put up.
Right.
And as soon as you relax, you're going to see, oh, you started trusting yourself too much. And I'm not talking about like a complete fear of ever going anywhere lest I jump off a cliff. No. But I am talking about knowing yourself, being wise and not over trusting yourself because them lies are going to try to get you.
Nah, that's good. Bro, Proverbs never talks about wisdom as a destination. It always talks about wisdom as a pathway.
That's
and
good.
So even the beginning of the book, it's like, yo, these are wise sayings, like for the inexperienced and for the old. Like, that I do think sometimes we think of like wisdom or guarding from lies is this destination. Like, let me travel there, and once I arrive there, I can lock the door and deadbolt it and I'm safe. But it's
like there's this list of sins I'm trying to overcome, and I'm like, got that one done. Yep.
All right, safe. Yep.
Got that one. Like, oh, now I can attack these. And it's like, oh, no. You are progressively getting the holier, Lord willing.
Right.
But that's not how it works. I wrote a song called Lullaby a very long time ago. And I always loved it, but I also sensed it wasn't good enough. It's not a good thing when you're like, no, I like this song, but I can also, and sometimes I convinced myself it was, and I even switched it a few times. It wasn't good enough.
Yeah.
But mainly what I loved about it was the lullaby, rocking you to sleep with another lie. And then in the verses, talk about some of the ways our culture is always trying to grab us with the lies. And so then as I was working on a whole other song, I had finally let that one go with much grief and pain. And then I was like, oh shoot, like this could be, I'll take that concept.
Yeah.
I'll call it Wake Up. And then I needed to change the hook because the hook wasn't good enough, basically. And I was like, what if I could bring the lullaby thing back in? Like, it's terrible. It's not a terrible hook, but it's not as good as what was there. I was like, okay, what if I add the lullaby part back in?
That's it.
And it was one of those, I was like, when it was right, I was like, there it is.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the one. But it's like, that's the kind of artist I am. Everybody's not like that.
Right.
Some people, and it's not better or worse, honestly. Because sometimes I've spent too much time trying to make something work that don't work.
Right.
Because I'm married to it. Other people are better at being like, it is what it is. Didn't work.
Yeah.
But I will also like, if I just know it can be special, I'm willing to put in the work to keep trying.
Right.
Like, nah, if I did this, or if I try this. And that's how I know to be great, is to like, if I know what's in there and my gut tells me it could be special, let me figure out if there's another way to get it. And I take a lot of input too. Ace told me he didn't like the other hook that much. He was like, I need, like, something else needs to give me more that is hooky and repetitive. Like that part. Like, what if you did the wake up part? I was thinking about that. And yeah, like, to me, I have to have people who give me feedback who I trust their taste in their ear. And when they first hired Ace at the label, I was like, I like this dude. And I will see, the A&R before that was Nat, a really good friend. We had a really good working relationship. We wrote a ton of songs together. Right. So I was like, on the creative side, and I trusted her a lot. She made me a better writer. Right. You know what I'm saying? I told her she should get like co-pub credit on everything I write for the rest of my life because her voice is in the back of my head. Right. Being like, that's not good enough, bro. Like, bro, that ain't good enough. Like, I'm not gonna remember that. And she'd be very blunt with it. And so it made me better in a lot of ways. Yeah. So I was like, all right, Ace, I like this dude, and let's see if we can get that same work relationship. I trust his ear. Yeah. And Ace is very different. Like, they have different, like, Nat was a writer and an artist. Ace was, before he was doing A&R stuff, a producer. Yeah. And so they both bring creative things. He brings something different there, but he also has a really good ear and it's good to work with. Yeah. So it's really important to me to be able to say, is this dope? Right. And to be able to trust your taste. And then there's some people, it's like, I know what kind of things I want to hear from you on. Right. And what kind of things I don't. Yeah. It's like, there's one dude who doesn't like singers very much. So I'm like, if I play you this, I know you're not really gonna rock with this, but that doesn't mean it's not good. It might just mean, so let me also get some other feedback. Yeah, that's a big part of my creative process, is not over trusting my gut. Yeah. Or not getting so married to something that I can't hear feedback. Right. When I love something and someone doesn't, maybe it does sting at first, sure. But I don't know, it makes me want to prove that it can be what I think it is. Right. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna figure it out. Right. Like, I think you should just let this on. Like, I think it can. So I hear your feedback, and I think you might be right. Right. I'm gonna try to switch it to where it can appeal to you. Let's see if I can change it up, and you like it. Yes. Let's see if I can make it better. Yeah. And that helps me out. A lot of songs have gotten better that way. Yeah. The End.Notes podcast is presented by Our Daily Bread's Voices Collection, and that Voices Collection is meant to share Black Christian stories of faith through resources and conversations, all Bible-centered, to help try to make God's word understandable for everybody and accessible to everybody. So if you want to know more about Our Daily Bread's Voices Collection, you can go to experiencevoices.org.